Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You know the Northern Lights?
Yes,
That's what we'll be able to see apparently.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today's reciters are Jai Mataji in Sanskrit and Jennifer Mataji in English from Canto 3, Chapter 22, verses 1 to 16. Jai Mataji, when you're ready, please start with the invocation. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The marriage of Kardam Muni and Devhuti. मैत्रेय उवाच एवम् अविष्कृतशेष गुणकर्मोदयो मुनिम् सवृद् इव तं सम्राट् उपरतम् उवाचः.
Sri Maitreya said, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent, and the emperor, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows.
Manora uvacha Brahma srajat swamukhato Yusman atma paripsaya Chandomaya stapo vidya Yoga yuktan alampatan.
Manu replied, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, the personified Veda, from his face created you, the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge and mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification.
Tat pranaya srujach jasman doha sahasratra sahasrapat hridayam tasya hi brahma kshatram angam prachakshate.
For the protection of the Brahmanas, the thousand-legged Supreme Being created us, the Kshatriyas, from his 1,000 arms. Hence the Brahmanas are said to be his heart, and the Kshatriyas his arms.
Atohya anyonyam atmanam brahma kshatram cha rakshataha rakshati smavyayo devaha sayah sad asad atmakaha.
That is why the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas protect each other as well as themselves. And the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effect, and is yet immutable, protects them through each other.
Tava sandarshanad eva chinname sarva samshayaha yat swayam bhagavan pritya dharmam aharirikshishosha.
Now I have resolved all my doubts simply by meeting you, for your Lordship has very kindly and clearly explained the duty of a king who desires to protect his subjects.
Dishtya me bhagavan drishto durdarsho yo krit atmanam dishtya padrajah sprushtam shirshana me bhavatha shivam.
It is my good fortune that I have been able to see you, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind or controlled the senses. I am all the more fortunate to have touched with my head the blessed dust of your feet.
Dishtya tvayanoshishto aham krutaschannugraho mahan apavratai karna randherer jushta dishtyo ashatir giraha.
I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favour has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your pure words.
Sabhavan duhitra sneha pariklishta atmano mam shrotam arhasi dinasya shravitam kripaya mune.
O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter.
Priyavrato utan padaho swaseyam duhitamam anvichati patim yuktam vayaha shila gunadibhihi.
My daughter is the sister of Priyavrata and Uttanapad. She is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character, and good qualities.
Yada tu bhavataha shila shrutarupa vayogunan ashronan naradad esha tvaya asit krita nishchaya.
The moment she heard from the sage Narad of your noble character, learning, beautiful appearance, youth, and other virtues, she fixed her mind upon you.
Tat pratichha dvijagreyamam shraddhayo uparatam maya sarva atman anurupam te grahamedhishu karmashu.
Therefore, please accept her, O chief of the Brahmanas, for I offer her with faith, and she is, in every respect, fit to be your wife and take charge of your household's duties.
Udya tasya hi kamasya prativado na shasyate api nirmukta sangasya kamaraktasya kim punaha.
To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure.
Ya udyatam anadritya kinasham abhiyachate kshiyate tad yashaha svitam manascha avagnyahataha.
One who rejects an offering that comes of its own accord, but later begs a boon from a miser, thus loses his widespread reputation, and his pride is humbled by the neglectful behavior of others.
Aham tva shrunavam vidvan vivahartham samudyatam atastvam upakurvanaha pratam pratigrahanami.
Svayambhu Manu continued, O wise men, I heard that you were prepared to marry. Please accept her hand, which is being offered to you by me, since you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy.
Rashira uvacha badham udvodhu kamo aham apratacha tavatmaja avyor anurupo asava adyo vaivahiko vidihi.
The great sage replied, Certainly, I have a desire to marry, and your daughter has not yet married or given her word to anyone. Therefore, our marriage according to the Vedic system can take place.
Kama sabhuyan naradevate asyaha putraya samam naya vidau pratitaha ka evate tanyam nadriyeta swayaiva kantya kshipatim iva shriyam.
Let your daughter's desire for marriage, which is recognized in the Vedic scriptures, be fulfilled. Who would not accept her hand? She is so beautiful that by her bodily lustre alone, she excels the beauty of her ornaments.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, that was beautifully recited. Very nice recitations, Jay Mataji and Jennifer Mataji. Really nice. Hare Bol. I'm just checking to see if Madan Prabhu has joined. Oh, here he's. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. How are you, Prabhuji?
I'm very good. How's everyone doing?
We're all good, I think.
Thank you. So I just joined in the nick of time. So I missed Jay Mataji and Jennifer Mataji's recitation, but I'm sure it would have been wonderful. So thank you so much for your recitation. And I would like to also extend a warm welcome to everybody in the chat today. So we are going to be moving to a new chapter, which is chapter 22, which is the marriage of Kadama Muni and Devahuti. A very beautiful chapter. So so we'll do the invocation, then we will do the Mangalacharan. So Shri Kushari Mataji, is the Mangalacharan done or is it not done?
Not yet, Prabhuji. I just managed to thank the reciters. They really recited so beautifully. But so over to you, Prabhuji. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. No problem at all. So let's really close our eyes and let's join. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णापदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे परमाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्यता देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. So, welcome once again, and thank you all so much for joining today. So, today we will be looking at chapter 22, verses 1 to 3. What I would like to do is to do a very quick recap of where we are today in terms of the chapter, and also give a very short summary of what chapter 22 is all about, and then we will move to the three verses. Today we are going to learn about how Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, were created, and also what is really the interconnectedness between the two of them, and what is the specific role of the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. And we will have a short discussion on that. So in the last chapter, which was a conversation between Manu and Kardama Muni, we saw that Kardama Muni does a lot of austerities for a number of years, and the Lord is pleased with him, and then he grants him a magnificent vision of the four-formed arm of the Lord. And Kardama Muni is completely ecstatic, and he offers us wonderful prayers, and the Lord is very pleased with him. And as the Lord always does, he always fulfills the desires of his devotees, and he says, "You don't have to worry. You don't have to tell me what you want, because I know what's in your heart." And so he says, "I've already made a plan for you." And then Swambhuva Manu, who's the emperor, comes with his queen Satrupa. And then we see that the beautiful exchange between the emperor and the future son-in-law. One is a very noble kshatriya who's very well known, and he rules the kingdom in the most righteous manner. And the other is a brahmana who is a very, very devout and hopeful, who's completely detached. In fact, even his request for a partner, of like disposition, someone who can really help him in his material and spiritual advancement, he's not asking because he's attracted, but he's asking because he wants to follow the instructions that he's been given, which is to which is to have the progeny of the human race. So we also see that there is a very beautiful interconnection between yoga, which is the austerities that Kardama Muni has done, and bhakti, which is the devotion service. Because of his offering of bhakti towards the Lord, and it's not just bhakti in a mood, but it's also bhakti in action, and that is really that he wants to fulfill his the duty that has been instructed to him. And so we see this very beautiful blend of spiritual practices, yoga, bhakti, and dharma, which is the duty in the most righteous form. So that's where we were. And now we move on to chapter 22. So chapter 22 is this essentially looks at the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. And this is where Kardama Muni formally accepts Devahuti as as his wife. And then this is again a beautiful chapter which looks at how it also looks at the role of a devotee wife, and how committed to to furthering spiritual advancement, not just material advancement. And we see that Devahuti also spends a lot of years in austerities, and then Kardama Muni, he offers, he sees this and he sees the sincerity of his wife, and then he creates a palace. But then even when the palace is created, and even when they travel to different worlds, it's not so much for sense gratification, but it's they are really done to please the Lord. So it's quite interesting. And what it also does is it also like shows us how material opulence could also be used to serve the Lord. So there is no indication that you cannot be materially opulent. You can be materially opulent, although that should not be your uh, like aim in life. Your aim is to please the Lord. And if like the material if you have those material opulences, then you can really make the best use for the Lord. And we see very so many examples of where there are very opulent, very famous devotees, and what they really do is they use their fame to really please the Lord. And one very good example is George Harrison, who is the Beatles were the most famous at a point of time, and you could like crowds were like swooning over them, like over their concerts. And what George Harrison really did do was to use his fame and use his knowledge to really propagate the name of the Lord. And also we are so fortunate for to have the Bhakti Vedanta manner offered to Srila Prabhupada and to ISKCON, and we're all benefiting from like his work. So again, a very good example of where bhakti combines with material opulence, and material opulence doesn't detract you from your from your spiritual journey and your practices and your devotional service, because you are in a state of detachment, and that's the mood in which Kardama Muni is as well. So, and also very interestingly, what you also see is that this particular chapter lays the groundwork for the birth of the Lord, and we will also see, not in this chapter, but in subsequent chapter, we'll see the birth of the Lord as Lord Kapila. And we know that Lord Kapila is an incarnation of the Lord, and then he's taught the world Sankhya philosophy. So we are at a very, very interesting juncture in in the history of human kind, so to speak. So with that backdrop, let's move on to the verses, and let's begin. Let me just pull that up. This is showing me something different today, so hopefully I will be able to, yeah, no, I think I've got this right. So what we are going to do is that I will read the Sanskrit, and I'll invite one of you to read the translation, and if there is a purport, the purport as well. So it's text 1. Maitreya uvacha evam avishkrita shesha guna karmodayo munim savrida ivatam samrad uparatam uvachaha. So would somebody like to read the translation?
Can I read, Prabhuji, please?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Sri
Krishna.
Maitreya said, after describing the greatness to the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent, and the emperor, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Text 2. Manuruvacha brahmasratsva mukhatho yusman atma paripsaya chando mayastapo vidya yoga yuktan alampatan. Would somebody like to read the translation and the purport?
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Can I read, please?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Manu replied, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, the personified Veda, from his face created you, the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge, and mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification. Purport. The purpose of the Vedas is to propagate the transcendental knowledge of absolute truth. The Brahmanas were created from the mouth of the Supreme Person, and therefore they are meant to spread the knowledge of the Vedas in order to spread the glories of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, also, Lord Krishna says that all the Vedas are meant for understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is especially mentioned here, Yog Yuktan Alampatan, that Brahmanas are full of mystic power and are completely averse to sense gratification. Actually, there are two kinds of occupations. One occupation in the material world is sense gratification, and other occupation is spiritual activity to satisfy the Lord by his glorification. Those who engage in sense gratification are called demons, and those who spread the glorification of the Lord or satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord are called demigods. It is specifically mentioned here that the Brahmanas are created from the face of the cosmic personality or Virat Purusha. Similarly, the Kshatriyas are said to be created from his arms, and the Vaishyas are created from his waist, and the Shudras are created from his legs. Brahmanas are especially meant for austerity, learning, and knowledge, and are averse to all kinds of sense gratification. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Text 3. Tatranaya chasman do sahasrat sahasrapad hridayam tasya hi brahma kshatram angam prachakshate. Would another devotee read the translation and the purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll read the translation.
Please do. Thank you, Mataji.
For the protection of the Brahmanas, the thousand-legged Supreme Being created us, the Kshatriyas, from his thousand arms. Hence the Brahmanas are said to be his heart and the Kshatriyas his arms. Purport. Kshatriyas are specifically meant to maintain the Brahmanas because if the Brahmanas are protected, then the head of civilization is protected. Brahmanas are supposed to be the head of the social body. If the head is clear and has not gone mad, then everything is in proper position. The Lord is described thus: Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. The purport of this prayer is that the Lord specifically protects the Brahmanas and the cows, and then he protects all other members of society, Jagaditaya. It is his will that universal welfare work depends on the protection of cows and Brahmanas. Thus, Brahminical culture and cow protection are the basic principles for human civilization. Kshatriyas are specifically meant to protect the Brahmanas, as is the supreme will of the Lord. Go Brahmana Hitayacha. As the heart is a very important part within the body, so the Brahmanas are also the important element in human society. The Kshatriyas are more like the whole body. Even though the whole body is bigger than the heart is more important. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you all for your wonderful recitations. So now we will go through these verses and have a short explanation on each one of them. So towards the end of the last chapter, Kardama Muni has described the greatness of the emperor. So he's And it's very interesting because Kardama Muni has, like met both the Lord and also, like Manu and the Emperor as well. So he's having a lot of couple of very, very important visitors. So in this case, he's extolling the praises of the Emperor, and then he becomes silent. And then the Emperor feeling modesty because Manu is completely detached from, like all the praise. So, so the prayers make him even humble, and so he and then he speaks, and then as we hear, so and when Manu speaks, we clearly know that he speaks from a position of great Vedic spiritual understanding. And what he says is that he started describing and praising the Kardama Muni, but in a different way. So uh, so what Manu says is that Lord Brahma, who is also personified Veda, is from his face has created you, or the Brahmanas. So we know that Kardama Muni is the most exalted of Brahmanas in the last chapter, because we saw that he performs here like a lot of austerities, and then like the Lord graced him with his vision, and then also fulfilling his desires. So clearly Kardama Muni is the most exalted of the Brahmanas. And what Manu says is that all the Brahmanas are full of austerity, knowledge, and mystic power. So this was the age when the Brahmanas were not leading very comfortable, opulent lives. They would always embrace austerity as like as a way of life. So they would perform austerities, and that will be a key part of their life. And they would not really pursue. They'll not be in the pursuit of material progress or material benefit. And they're full of knowledge. So we do know that 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 would be the brahmacharya ashram, and then the four stages. Like brahmachari, grihast, and then vanaprasth and the sannyasi. So they will spend the initial part of the years, and they would spend like a number of years in Vedic schools, and acquiring the knowledge of the Vedas, and then they'll use that to guide the civilization. And then they'll also have a lot of mystic power, and that mystic power really comes from their as we saw in Kardama Muni, they perform penances, and when we talk of mystic power, it's not necessarily, it's more from a spiritual perspective than a materialistic perspective. So let's unpack what Prabhupada says. Firstly, he says that the purpose of the Vedas is to propagate the transcendental knowledge. So it is not about becoming a scholar. It's not about being able to recite all the verses and be able to remember. It's not about participating in debates and winning. That's not really the purpose of the Vedas. It's not even about just about like how to live life, although there are lots of the Vedas. I mean, a lot of the part of the Vedas is how to lead the right life. But the main purpose is to really know Krishna, and also to be able to realize him, and also to be able to propagate the transcendental knowledge. And that comes from the fact, and why the Brahmanas play a very key role is that they were created from the mouth, or from the face of the Supreme Person. And what do we do with our mouth? With our mouth, we do two things. We use it as a way to nourish ourselves. So it's like an intake of prashadam and the nourishment that allows us to stay healthy, our mind to be healthy, our body to be healthy, and then we're able to perform devotional service. And mouth is also used to speak, and the sense and the sense of speech is so important, because what we say from our mouth can be positive, can be negative, and we carry forward those feelings. We we transfer that to the universe. And the Brahmanas, because they were created from the mouth, that they would say they were meant to use their mouth to spread the knowledge of the Vedas and speak about Krishna, to speak transcendental things about the pastimes of Krishna, about reading the slokas, etc., so that you can glorify the Lord. However, it's good to really reflect today on ourselves, not just the Brahmanas, but to really ask ourselves, how are we really using this power of speech that the Lord has given us? We are fortunate that we are able to have that, because there are some of us who may not have this ability. So we have been given this very unique gift, which is the ability to communicate, the ability to impart knowledge, the ability to inspire others to follow the devotional service of the Lord. But how are we using our mouth? It's how what kind of things do we say? What kind of do we say things that are always positive? Do we say things that would please the Lord? So when we are angry, for example, and when we might say things that we regret, are we really pleasing the Lord? So it's good to really examine a little bit around how are we using the mouth today. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that all the Vedas are really meant to understand Krishna. And here, as Manu says, and also as Prabhupada says, Brahmanas are full of mystic power and are completely averse to sense gratification. So again, it's good to really let's look at the word Brahmana. So when we look at Brahmana, is it Brahmin by birth, or is it Brahmin by by your actions, by your deeds and your behaviors? So um, uh, do we have we do have Brahmanas who are not necessarily averse to sense gratification, and we may have non-Brahmanas who are averse to sense gratification. So we have lots of permutations and combinations, and very unique people who could be Brahmanas, who could not be necessarily having the qualities that are being described here, and the other way. So Prabhupada talks about two kinds of occupation, and one which is more related to the material world is sense gratification, and the other is spiritual activity. Now, because we are all, most of us, I suppose we are all grihast here. So we do have both kinds of occupations that in chapter 22 of the Bhagavad Gita, like Krishna talks about the Swadharma, which is our material duties, as a parent, as a partner, a spouse, as a member of the society, as an employee. So we do have multiple roles, and they can all be clubbed under one occupation, and that usually focuses on sense gratification. Another one is around spiritual activity, which is really around some of the sadhanas, some of the spiritual practices that we do around chanting, going to the temple, reading, attending, listening to classes, Bhagavatam classes, etc. So these are so this is the other occupation. Now many of us would probably be doing a combination of both, and you could still be doing your duties in the material world. But the question is, how do you do that? Do you do that with an intentional sense gratification, or do you do that with an intention to please the Lord? And if you were to look at Kardama Muni, and his intention is to only please the Lord and to follow the instructions of his masters. So he's using his power and his mystic power towards that. So again, something for us to reflect on. How do we do our dharma, which is our material duties? So when we do our material duties without detachment, then that elevates us to the elevates us in terms of spiritual activity, and because we're not really worried about the fruits of our action, and we are detached from the fruits of action, which really brings us closer to the Lord and to really satisfy Him. And Prabhupada also talks about those who generally engage in sense gratification are called demons, and then those who glorify the Lord are called demigods. And then we see that the Brahmanas are created from the face of the cosmic personality, and Kshatriyas are created from his arms. The Vaishyas, who are the merchants, like those who are engaged in trade, they're all created from his waist, and then the Shudras are created from his legs. So there is so from this we can also see that the structure of the society also like is very is related to the to the form of the Lord as well. And what are the Brahmanas really supposed to do? What they are really meant for austerity, living life in a way that's not full of sense gratification. Learning and knowledge is a very important part. And when we talk of learning and knowledge, is not necessarily just the material knowledge that we have, our understanding of the world. Yes, that's important, but it's more about spiritual knowledge. And then we move on to the last verse for today, which is really around which is for the protection. And this is where you can see that there is a certain interdependency of each of these. And all the the whether it's the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, they all serve a certain purpose. And let's really see what that purpose is. So Kshatriyas are specifically meant to maintain the Brahmanas, because if the Brahmanas are protected, then the head of the civilization is protected. So now let's think of our own bodies, and let's see what happens if one of the limbs are cut, or what happens like if we hurt our arm. Of course, we feel a lot of pain. But then our head, we can use our head to really help us change our perspective, and it can really help us guide what we are feeling. So if you're feeling a lot of pain, then the head will tell us, please calm down. Or the head could also tell us to continue to become very agitated. So our behaviors, based on what part of the body we hurt or cut or burn or get a burn, is also influenced by this. But what are the thoughts that comes into our head? So the head is clearly quite an important part, and if you do not keep this head clear, and if you do not keep it protected, then we can. It's going to be quite difficult for us to have a civilization, that is, that's godly, that's righteous. And Kshatriyas were really, of course, I mean, Kshatriyas are essentially the warriors, but then they're specifically, like meant to maintain the Brahmanas. And you could also see this in the battle of, Kurukshetra as well, the role of Arjuna and the Pandavas. And so their role was really to maintain the Brahmanas, because the Kauravas and were leading their kingdom in a way where the Brahmanas were feeling quite threatened, because it was the demonic activities that were being nourished. So it was quite important. It was quite essential to have the battle of Kurukshetra, because that was really the battle of the good versus evil. And then it was a lot about protecting the head of civilization. So Prabhupada also says is that if the head is clear and has not gone mad, then everything is in proper position. And it's good to really think of where think of our of the modern world. So we see so much of angst in the world. There is so much of hatred that's going on. There is so much of conflict that's going on. The presidents and the prime ministers are ruling the world in a very haphazard manner. So ideally, they should be looking at like looking at a very righteous way of ruling. But then those who are in power are not necessarily doing what is right, and that's really taking the world to a lot of turmoil, as we're experiencing. a very recent example, and I don't normally follow the news, but I did a couple of days ago, hear about what's happened in Delhi in terms of the the blasts, and it completely saddens the heart. And while our heart goes out to those to the families and to the victims, it's also a time for us to reflect on what is really happening to the world around. Um, is our head clear? Are the heads of the governments really doing things in a righteous manner? And clearly something is not going right here, and that's because the brahmanas are probably not being protected, and hence there is a greater responsibility for us as devotees to really play our role and try to contribute towards a civilization that seems to be going wrong. So the Lord here is described as Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. So this is a prayer, and I think some of you would be quite familiar with. And what the purport of this prayer is that the Lord specifically protects the brahmanas and the cows. So he's quite impartial. So he has said in the the Bhagavad Gita that he is. He's very impartial to everyone, but then he specifically protects the brahmanas and the cows. And today we live in a world where we have to really ask ourselves, are we really protecting our cows? And I just heard not very, somewhat recently how, like in Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu is a place where, there's a lot of, that's a place where I originally come from. And it's, like in Chennai, if you go, there are so many temples, and there are so many, pilgrimage, like places there, Rameshwaram and, Srirangam. And, it seems that because of the head of government, what I understand is that there are a lot of stalls that have opened up over the last few years, which are, which sell beef. And I was quite shocked to hear about it. And to me, there was a part that said, um, like for a place to have been so godly, to so godly and so divine, and following all the Vedic tradition, to really move to something like this is really a very, very sad state of affairs. And the more I reflect on it, the more I thought about how, like, it's the government which is really or the is it the chief minister, or who it is really driving some of these. And what I also understand is there are lots of parts of I was speaking to a friend the other day, and I don't know whether it's in Gurgaon or Delhi, or separately, they have brought these like stalls in very, very prominent places that sells alcohol. So again, all of these, whether it's like the beef selling stalls, or whether it's the alcohol selling shops, etc. So a lot of them actually have cannot be done without like the heads of governments sanctioning these things. So the question that we ask ourselves is that, is our head really clear? I mean, our head has really gone mad, because of the kind of actions, the kind of things that we see happening around us. So while I'm not trying for us to be very negative, but I think it's important for us to really understand the where we are today, especially in the context of what's being shared here. So the God's will is that universal welfare work depends on the protection of cows and brahmanas, and where the cows are not being protected, where the brahmanas are not being protected, what is the point of human civilization? Because Brahminical culture and cow protection are the basic principles for human civilization. And if we really put our hand on our heart and ask ourselves, are those really being met? I'm sure we'll probably find the answer. So, So if we are to look at the basic principles of human civilization is not about building like tall skyscrapers or like setting up like large companies or having a space mission to go to Mars and to the extent that I think the head of Amazon has mentioned that what, I think some of our Amazon warehouses will probably be housed in Mars. So that is that really progress, or is the progress, or are we really getting to a point where we are experiencing a fall, and that fall is unfortunately getting accelerated because we do have some heads like of governments and whoever it is in power who are absolutely not following the Vedic tradition. So Kshatriyas are especially meant to protect the Brahmanas, but look at the amount of money that gets expended in defense. So and even India spends, even India and most of the countries they spend like a lot of their GDP comes from defense, and there are countries which sell defense equipment and missile equipment, and the intention is that because they say that the nature of conflict has changed now, so there is not just warfare, but there is also cyber warfare. There is hacking going on, and there are so many things that's really happening around. So there is so much of fear in this world, so much of anxiety around like protecting your borders, protecting like territories, and as we try to become more interconnected, we are also becoming a very, very insular in terms of trying to protect only one nation as compared to the others. So definitely these examples can clearly illustrate that our head is not working well, and that means we are losing the entire basic principles of human civilization and Brahmanical and cow protection. And in a context like this, what really is our role? And that's something that is worth like reflecting on. So if this is the world that we find ourselves in, where the head seems to have really gone mad. Do we have a role to play at all, or do we just say, what? I don't. I think we are just we are just a very small cog in the large wheel. We cannot do anything. And my reflection on that is that we can do something, because the path that we have chosen to follow, which is Krishna conscious, is really helping us to stay grounded. So despite all that's happening around the world, despite the head not really working well, we are also aspiring to like through our spiritual practices, we are trying to stay grounded. We are trying to follow a path where we are focusing less on sense gratification and then more on pleasing the Lord. So, of course, like many of us will continue to have a lot of impurities, and we are trying to become better versions. But at least we have a realization that things are not going right, and that is very key to to making any spiritual progress. And what we can learn from Kardama Muni, and also the interactions that we have seen with him, with Manu, and also what Manu is talking about in these verses, is really around how do we balance our spiritual duty with our material duty. And when we Mahatma Gandhi said we should be the change that we wish to seek in the world. So if we want to really change the world, you don't have to really go I'm going to like do something extremely heroic, because many of us will probably not be heroes and heroines, but then we can still be in our own way. So it's not so much about making those large scale changes, but it's really about conquering your inner world. And when you do conquer the inner world, then you can inspire others to follow your path. And it's like it's like, every single drop matters. And because we are so outnumbered today, and because of the examples, that there's so much happening out there which are not as per the Vedic civilization, which are definitely not pleasing to the Lord. We have a responsibility to stay the path, and also to try in our capacity to inspire others to follow our path as well. And that's where we can truly start making this world a better place. And when we, for example, follow this path, what we are doing is we're inspiring our dear ones, we're inspiring our friends, we're inspiring our children, to follow our path. We're inspiring our colleagues, if they are also interested. So it's really about having the right association and expanding that association, so that we have more who will at least who can resonate with what we are thinking, and then really be inspired to follow the traditional way. I was speaking to some friends, and then they were talking a lot about this thing about vegetarianism and veganism, etc. Uh, a lot of that is prevalent more among the youngsters. So there is still hope for this world, because a lot of the youth who we think do not understand much about like the world. They probably have a better appreciation, because many of them are waking up to saying that we have to do something to protect the world. So they are doing some very very like inspiring like things. And we know Greta, who's trying to take on the might of the governments, because of the various policies around climate change and environment. So there are lots of those positive stories that are going on. So we just need to bring them a lot more to the surface, and then that will really help us to follow those principles of basic principles, which is really about cow protection, and generally protection of all the living entities, and that includes the plants, and the animals. And be very discreet about what we eat and what we consume. And the second aspect is about really the developing a Brahmanical attitude towards life. And um, we may be less or more Brahmins, but as long as we appreciate that what the roles of the Brahmanas are, which is more around austerity, which is a detachment from sense gratification, a continuous lifelong quest for learning, and glorification of the Lord. So as long as we follow that path, it's going to be very difficult for things to go wrong. And even in this super mad world, we can still be that oasis of bhakti and inspiration for others. I'll stop here and invite reflections and questions.
Hare Krishna, Madan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
We can my humble greetings as a Gossi Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji, for nicely bringing out about the chaotic problems of this world, and how the youngsters are trying to do something which is good. But this world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. Prabhupada always says it's a place of misery, and it's not a place of permanence. It is like temporary. Still, we are living in there. We should take care, and we should make sure that whatever we can bring, what we can contribute for the safety of people, and not only for their bodily safety, for their kind of mind also, right? And if you are talking about India, I was really surprised to see last time I visited how long a queue was outside in South in one place. So I asked my son-in-law, what are they doing? And he said, this is a liquor time, Mataji. Everybody with a bottle in their hand is queuing up, long queue. And
Oh,
I
no.
said, I said, before I visited that place, there was nothing like this. And yes, it just opened. So everywhere it's like that. You go to Mayapur, outside Mayapur, there's only like the Muslim community selling the meat on the roadside. And I was surprised to see that. But how much can we do? It looks like the evil deed is prevailing everywhere in this world. We just have to pray, Krishna. My Guru Maharaj used to say, Kanhaiya, teri gaiyon par aare chal rahi hai, kab aayegi tu? Meaning that, they are cutting they're cutting your cows. When are you going to come? So that's what we should be praying for. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. And yes, of course, the intention is always about how we want to get out of this world. And also as Prabhupada mentioned, this world is like a toilet. We should just do our business, which is our material duty, and then we should aim to really get out and not really stay too long. But while we are staying here, how can we really be that that beacon of inspiration? And while things are going on, what are the little things that we can do? And I think if we can really focus on what we can do, I think that will be really helpful, because we can't change the world, as we mentioned. And but the best way to do is for us to just follow the path of bhakti very, very consistently and very steadfastly, and then also share that with those who are willing to listen. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Any reflections? Anything that you've seen about the world that you'd like to share about? All right. So if there are no more questions, then Shiji Kishori Mataji, can I hand it over to you for the final prayers?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you. Let's all put our hands together. Let's pray very sincerely to their lordships. Let's close our eyes and focus on this prayer. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the amazing class. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.